Don't call it a comeback. Actually, yeah, you can.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a live edition of Locked On Yankees, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your hosts, Stacey Gotsulias. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as always, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Look at you in your look at you in your Jets jersey. We're going to talk about the Yankees, obviously. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you know when those videos go live. So today's show, we'll preview the second game between the Yankees and Royals. Also, we're going to discuss what is going on with the Yankees front office. They're so embarrassing. Like, they did the right thing, but there's a whole bunch of nonsense we're going to discuss in segment 2. But first, let's talk about this game because, I told the Yankees to wake up on Twitter, and they literally did right after I said it.
Yeah, they certainly listened to you, right? And a massive win. It feels like the first big win in a day that the Orioles lose. You get a big win, a big comeback win. It feels like you see the Orioles losing on the scoreboard and you kind of pep your step up a little bit. A big home win against a really good team in the American League that you need to beat. A team that I think you also want to have confidence that you can beat, right? Yes. Because it's a good likelihood you're going to see them at some point in the future. So I think a really important game. Rodón, another really solid start out of him. Something that you really, really want to see, especially going into the postseason, because we've discussed a million times, right? He feels like the make it or break it kind of guy, right? Like he feels like the guy in the rotation that is going to be so important going into the postseason. A guy that you're going to need length, 6 innings. You're going to need strikeouts, 9 strikeouts, and you're going to need to be able to dominate against really good teams. He did all 3 of those tonight. So you're going to need starts like that in the postseason, especially if you want to have a chance to win.
Yep. He was betrayed by the defense a little bit again, and that's becoming a problem. You know, you can't play such shoddy defense in the playoffs because what helps you win? Good pitching, good defense. So the Yankees need to figure some things out. But yeah, Rodón, 9 strikeouts. I mean, he was really dialing it up there. 6 innings, what you want to see. 3 earned runs, 4 runs overall because of, again, the shoddy defense. The 1 walk, 2 solo home runs. I mean, one of them, Sal Perez. I mean, come on.
And if you're gonna give up home runs, the solo way is the shot's the way to go, right?
Yep. According to his wife, he wasn't feeling well tonight. So the fact that he wasn't feeling well still lasted 6 innings and got 9 strikeouts. Good job. And he's 5-2 with a 3.33 ERA in his last 9 starts.
And I think another thing to note too is the depth into the game, right? Going 6 innings into the game. We've talked about how much their bullpen has struggled, right? If they can't really find a closer, the back end of the bullpen's really struggled. The fact that they have a guy that can go 6 innings, you're going to need starts like that going deep into games in the postseason. You really are. So that's also a little key.
Offense. Verdugo feels some footsteps on his heels there. And but you know what? Let's see. This is a stat that came up. He's 333 with 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and an OPS of 931 in his last, or I think it was 831 in his last 15 games, which that's pretty good. Maybe that whole being allergic to the batting gloves thing was actually true because since he switched batting gloves, and yeah, that's so odd. But Dominguez, they said, had issues with something too like that. So I mean, you know, I'm allergic to cold air. People are allergic to weird things. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I don't know how much I like take into account of like Verdugo. Like I think the numbers, sometimes you got to go by the eye test, right? And I feel like nowadays we don't want to do that as much, and the Yankees certainly don't want to do it as much. I don't know about you. When I watch Verdugo play eye test wise, I'm not seeing I'm not seeing a hitter that other teams fear.
Oh
right?
no.
And I know the numbers
No.
looked good in the last 15 games. It's part of the reason why Verdugo is played. And part of the reason why Dominguez didn't get called up. And I do feel like Yankee fans got to pat themselves on the back a little bit here, because it does feel like the pressure put on the organization over the last week had a little bit to do with Dominguez getting called up, because not much has changed in the last week.
Yeah.
Dominguez has still been hot in the minors. He was hot prior. Verdugo still has been, I guess with these improved numbers, want to call him mid. That's what he's been. You know, not really a feared hitter, not really productive, but he's putting up better numbers analytically. Okay. Like, okay, I'll sit there and I'll hear it. Fine. But all else into account, not much has changed in the last week. And that's what makes the decision peculiar. And we'll get more into the second segment. But what all of a sudden made Dominguez get called up now?
Well, I did joke that if they didn't call him up on September 1st, that the Yankee fans would take out their torches and pitchforks, and that kind of happened
pretty much
on
did.
social media.
They pretty much did.
Every podcast was complaining about, like, literally, I mean, there are 50,000 Yankee podcasts. We're one of them, and everyone was complaining about it. So there was some chirping in ears, and, you know, what, like 2 days after Cashman's like, Verdugo's our guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So
no one got hurt. There wasn't a reason to really call him up. Like there was no, you were waiting for like an injury, right? You were saying like,
well, DJ got hurt, but I mean,
but he's not an outfielder. So it's not like, not like Dominguez necessarily replacing DJ. And DJ's injury kind of goes back to, I did a solo show a few weeks ago when you were traveling. And I gave that point that I had a feeling towards the end of the year, they were going to put DJ on the IL retroactive back to a date in the past, and kind of sit DJ for the rest of the year on an injury, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And kind of tell him, get healthy, come back in spring training. Yeah. And that's kind of going to be his last chance of, if you look good in spring training, you'll make the team. And if you don't, they'll cut them before the season starts. That's what I felt like was going to happen. And it feels like that's what happened. Because we've all watched the last couple of games. Was there any sign DJ LeMahieu was injured?
No.
At all. I mean, you can say he hasn't played well, but he hasn't played well in 3 months. So unless he's been injured the entire 3 months, there was no play that happened where he looked like he got hurt. He hasn't gotten hit by a pitch. It's weird that all of a sudden there's this lingering injury. You know, I think you're not going to see DJ LeMahieu the rest of the season, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And, you know, that's the way to do it, right? Instead of DFAing him, put him on the injury list. Yeah. That's fine. So the Yankees were down 4-3 going into the 7th. And I just want to say, Judge, Soto are on base. Judge had driven in Glaber. Yeah, Glaber had 3 hits, right? Mm-hmm. And I loved, there was a shot from, center field when Wells hit the home run. Soto's just past second, obviously watching the home run. He raises his arms. The pitcher isn't even looking, because the pitcher knows that Wells tattooed that ball. Wells flips the bat. I was like, that is one of the best things I've ever seen. I love that. I love reactions like that. Soto was so excited. And you obviously want to see your teammates excited about things that you're doing. Wells made the joke that he blacked out and didn't really, remember going around the bases. And I
think he used that phrase intentionally.
Yes. And I joked on Twitter. I said, now, older beat writers, he's not being literal. Then he also called Weave a unicorn. And I said, guys, he doesn't mean he's actually a unicorn. Okay. Let's just calm down there after the game when you ask your questions. Come on. We have to make fun of them for it because it's really funny. But for Wells, here are some cool numbers about Wells. In 27 games as cleanup hitter, 309, 373, 536 with a 909 OPS, 6 home runs, 28 runs batted in. The only cleanup hitter in the AL better than him is Brent Rooker.
Yeah, it's been
OPS is just over 1,000.
It's been an underlying thing in all of Major League Baseball how good Austin Wells has been. I mean, and it's kind of gotten under the radar because the 2 guys in front of him on the lineup have been so unbelievably good. But Austin Wells and his he came up last year, but this is really his de facto rookie year.
Yeah.
He has been otherworldly good. Like really everything you could possibly expect out of him, he has given you. I don't think I even expected this, especially with his bat.
Yeah.
And he has been so unbelievable. His defense has improved. And he's one of those hitters too, where it feels like when he hits the ball, he hits the ball. Like he gets all the ball. He gets all barrel every time he makes contact. You were saying it a lot early on in the season when his numbers are struggling to get up there. He got into a lot of bad luck in April and May. Hit the ball on the screws to a lot of guys, and it started finding gaps and it started finding grass a little more as the year went on. He's been a tremendous player for them all year.
Yep. Quickly, bullpen. Jake Cousins, 1 inning, no hits, 1 walk, 2 Ks. His slider is insane. Like his slider makes people look really, really silly. And if he can capitalize on that pitch and pitch as well as he could be a secret weapon in the playoffs that people weren't expecting out of the bullpen.
His
Luke
vertical
Weaver,
movement on the slider is one of the best in Major League Baseball.
Jack Curry joked that Tommy Pham should, even if he had a second bat attached to his bat, he still would have missed the slider, which I thought was funny. Luke Weaver going down 3-0 and then getting the strikeout with 3 straight strikes to end the 8th with 2 guys on, and
very animated too.
Yeah, and he was animated. Yes, he was very excited. Weave, the unicorn, was very animated. And Ian Hamilton coming back, pitching a 1-2-3 ninth inning. Looked good, looked efficient. Fantastic.
You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it.
Boone said after the game that I think he said if Weaver got into a little bit of trouble, he had Canely in mind, but he also said something about Clay, and then my eyes glazed over. So I wasn't sure exactly what he said, but I was like, no, let's not ever bring Clay ever. Thank you to the Red Sox for beating up on the Orioles 12-3. Fun fact, Rob Refsnyder and Tyler O'Neill went back-to-back twice with home runs.
Wow.
So go Red Sox, I guess, just for the next couple of games. Thank you. Thank you for helping us out. All right, so we're going to talk about the front office and Cashman and the Dominguez stuff. But first, don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. Also, reply to the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday. I will put that up once we're done with this. If you would like your questions answered for Fan Mail Friday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get texts from me. They got a lot of texts today because of things that were going on today, as in Monday. Show airs on Tuesday. There's a 14-day free trial. It's a good time. So coming up next, what on earth is going on with the Yankees front office?
You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Guys, NFL season is 1 week old. It's so sad how quick it moves, but you can still get all of your futures in, divisional bets, over-unders. They're all still available on FanDuel.com, where you can get everything. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back, and thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast. Host Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully. He has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And don't forget that you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. Welcome back, guys. Segment 2. We got to discuss this because I think the reaction when the news came out today was a little, what? Because no one was expecting it. And a week ago, everyone would have been expecting it and been like, of course. Jasson Dominguez called up by the Yankees, and really no one found out. The Yankees didn't formally announce this. It was leaked because once the media was allowed into the clubhouse, they saw Dominguez's locker up with a name tag, and they figured, oh, I guess he's going to be here. That's a little strange, too. There was no formal release of the Yankees announcing their top prospect coming up. kind of, to me, felt like that was the Yankees' way of admitting that they had egg on their face,
Mm-hmm.
and they knew they screwed up. This felt like, Stacey, because of the reaction from the fan base, that's the reason why Dominguez got called up. Because I said in the first segment, I'll repeat it here. There was no call to action, right? Nothing happened that would have justified Dominguez getting called up necessarily, different from a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
No one got hurt. No one was playing any worse. No one was slumping particularly. It doesn't necessarily make any sense why you choose now to call Dominguez as opposed to last week.
Right.
So that I don't get. I know Verdugo's been playing well over the last month, but again, I don't even consider that playing well. Analytically, his numbers look really well. When I see Verdugo at the plate, I'm not seeing a guy that's feared by any pitcher in Major League Baseball. I'm not. So I don't know what changed. I don't know what's different. It feels like the Yankees not formally announcing their top prospect being called up and not a social media post of their top, other than like a regular Twitter kind of like a roster update post. No, fancy fanfare all over Instagram or anything like that.
Right.
Nothing with the organization announcing their top prospect being called up. Stacey, I don't know about you. It feels like they are, weird way admitting they were called with egg on their face.
Yeah, it was really odd because the first person I saw was Gary Phillips, then Max Goodman, and then the rest of the beat writers started tweeting about it. But it was all, oh, Jasson Dominguez has a locker and his stuff is here. So I guess that means he was called up. It's like, okay, so I guess that means he was called up. And I was waiting for the official thing. Then the Yankees PR tweet came out with all the different moves with and then that's how we found out DJ was going on the IL. We found out that what else was happening? Oh, Birdie, right? He came back, and it was just like, okay, and there was no, like you said, I was like, well, why aren't they making a big deal out of it? It's like, oh, that's right, because they're kind of embarrassed. It's like they're walking with their tail between their legs. Like, yeah, you guys were right. We should have brought him up sooner. Like, we were dumb. Sorry.
It feels like they knew, like they knew. And again, we said this when they first didn't call him up in our freak out episode that has a ton of views at this point. Stacey, it felt like when they made that call, they were making the call as if we're smarter than all of you. Mm-hmm. We know you all think it's the right move, and every quote unquote baseball expert that's out there and every other organization in Major League Baseball, including all of our fans and people who study the game analytically and people that are on TV and talking about it, it feels like every single one of you wanted Dominguez up and kind of knew consensusly that it was the right move. Mm-hmm. We're going to keep him down because we're smarter than you. Now, we don't have a reason to keep him down. We don't have a reason of why he should be down. We don't have a reason of even why we're smarter than you, but we are. So we're going to do something different, and you're not going to get an explanation. And then a week later, when nothing happens, you call him up magically. It just feels like they're admitting they were wrong. Dominguez was still killing it in AAA. We read the numbers yesterday. It's outrageous what he's doing in AAA. He needed to be called up, and he scored a run tonight anyway. Right. So it just, something was wrong. Something was going on. And I mean, listen, let's just be grateful they made the right call, 9 days after it should have been made.
Jared Williams, everydayer. He's here nearly every night in the chat. Brought up a good point. We forgot to mention Verdugo's home run. I was going to, I promise.
You kind of did, though, with saying that he was hitting better and everything like that.
Yeah. But this is what Verdugo said after the game, and contrast this to what Nestor said the other day. Put it up on the screen. This is about Dominguez. He's going to come up here. He's going to play. He's going to help this team win. Whatever that means, right? If I lose a little bit of playing time, I lose a little bit of playing time. At the end of the day, I want to win. The only thing that matters is getting to the playoffs and winning there.
I'm not a Verdugo guy, but that's the right answer.
I mean,
you compare that answer to Nestor's answer, where Nestor's answer didn't seem a heck of a lot about winning.
Yeah,
it seems a lot about me, and who I'm and where am I starting.
Well, that was weird about Nestor's because he had the first half where he was mad, and then the second half where he was like, "Well, if the team, I'm doing." It sounds like
like he made the comment he wanted to make, and then he caught himself and like, it doesn't sound great.
Right.
And,
right. And the beat writers were like, we're going to put this whole thing up.
Yeah.
We're going to put the whole thing up. So I'm impressed with Verdugo's reaction because, as I joked in segment 1, he feels the footsteps on his heels. And you know what? Nick Swisher said said it on the post game. This might actually be good for Verdugo because now the threat to take over your playing time is actually in the clubhouse with you.
And the promise, right? They've kind of admitted once Dominguez is here, he's going to play every single day, which means once Judge is playing center field and so is playing right, Dominguez is going to be playing left. And I can't imagine their playoff hopes are not to have Dominguez playing in left field. They got to be.
Right. Speaking of that, let's pull the curtain back just a sec because I joked when they said that they were calling him up. I said on Twitter about 45 minutes before they put the what's it called? The lineup out. I said, watch them put Dominguez in center, Verdugo in left, and Soto in right, and DH Judge. So they can still have Verdugo. And they did the exact thing that I said that they were going to do. And I don't know if I should be laughing about that or if I should be scared that.
Grateful.
Good Lord. But it worked out. It was a good game. I like the fight that they put up because I'll pull the curtain back again. As I was doing the rundown, as the game was going, my topic 2 was why can't these guys win at home? I wrote that in the 6th inning because I was like, why can't they win at home? This home field advantage that they supposedly have hasn't been working so far in the regular season. And how is that going to translate into the playoffs? And then the bottom of the 7th happened. I was like, thank you. Erased it. Changed segment 1, made it happier. Thank you, Austin Wells. Well, thank you, Glaber, Judge, Soto, Wells. Those guys getting on base, Judge driving in Glaber, Wells driving those guys in. Wells also making the game 10-4 with another double because he's just on fire and amazing. Just an amazing comeback. It felt like one of those games from the beginning of the year where in April and May, even when they were behind, you're like, well, they're going to come back and win the game.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like watching that. I was like, oh, okay. Things are happening.
And this kind of proves the point, too, about how important those games are. We've said it all year about how important they are in April and May and June, right? This game feels so much bigger now being in September with the Orioles losing today, being up now a game and a half. Whereas in April, they win a game like this and you don't think of it like that as much. And it just goes to show how important those games are. They're equally as important back then as they are now.
Yep. Speaking of losing games, very briefly, the poor White Sox.
Oh, we talked about it before the show went live. Stacey, I got to mention this because it's astonishing to me. They're 33-112. They have 15 road wins this year. 18 home wins. They're 49.5 games back of the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, they're atrocious isn't even the word. They have a minus 304 run differential.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I've never seen something like this.
They are not winning 40 games.
No, not even close.
That's crazy. They might be lucky to win 35 at this point with the way they're playing. Even with 2 weeks left in the season, they'll be lucky to win 2 more games. That's how bad they are. And even with teams not even trying to play, they might be running into opponents that might not have playoff aspirations or whatever, but you don't want to lose to the White Sox. You don't want to lose to a team that only has 33 wins, So, Yankee fans, when you think that we have it bad.
Yeah.
Not even close. Not even close. I know we like to feel that way, and some days it feels that way, but overall, I would much rather be in our shoes.
We've never seen a team play this bad for a stretch of time, though. Ever. No. I mean, this is other. And you know what's crazy, too, is you'd think when you look at their rotation, it's a bunch of guys with like 15 ERAs and stuff like that. It's not that either.
No.
Right? Like they've got a bunch of guys with 3 ERAs and 4. They stay in games. Yeah. Right? They stay in games, into the 5th and 6th inning, and then their bullpen blows it, or they just stop scoring, or they start throwing the ball around. They're not going to, Stacey, you said they're not going to win 40 games. They might not win like 32.
Well, they're at 33.
Well, I mean, I'm saying like 35, I guess, is the number that I was looking for. Like they might not win 3 more games the rest of the season.
Yeah.
They're so incredibly bad. I can't remember watching a team that's been this bad. It's incredible.
Yeah. All right, coming up next, we're going to preview Game 2 of the Yankees-Royals series. Do you guys love going to live events? Because I do. There's nothing close to the energy of being at a live event, whether it's a baseball game, a concert, even a football game. And I've had so many fun memories at Yankee Stadium, and I'm looking forward to making more this year. And with Game Time, it's never been easier to get the best tickets. They have a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks, which does all of the hard work for you. So instead of searching through thousands of tickets, Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and shows you the absolute best deals on great seats. I was actually looking for Yankee games possibly to go to later this week because I will not put up with seeing one loss this season. I have to go to another game. So they have a super deal, and you can get really incredible prices with the super deal. And Game Time breaks everything down into different tiers. So if you want a premium experience or the best bang for your buck, it's all there. You can choose. And you can see where your seats are, like if you've never been to Yankee Stadium, and they'll give you a panoramic view. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back to Locked On Yankees. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. All right. Game 2, Royals, Yankees. This time, Marcus Stroman, 10-7 with a 4.03 ERA against Seth Lugo, who's 15-8 with a 3.05 ERA. Lugo has been really, really good this year. You're muted. I told you not to mute the mic. Don't mute the
Now
mic.
it feels now. Honestly, it feels like I'm doing it intentionally, and I'm not. But I can see how people could think so. Seth Lugo's been really key for the Royals this year. He's been their de facto ace all year. Really tough spot for them Yankees to be in going into Game 2 of this series. But you're getting you're up a game and a half on the Orioles now. You're starting to. This is the most ground you've had in 2 weeks. You gotta go all out in these games. You gotta get wins. You got to hope the Orioles lose, and you got to start stretching this lead. I'm telling you, Stacey, anything under 2.5 games going into that final series scares me. Well, second to last series, and then the final series against the
final
Orioles.
one between them. Yeah.
It really makes me nervous because, both teams are starting to line up their best pitchers to pitch in that series. I mean, it's going to be the hottest ticket in town, that's for sure. I feel like that series is going to be for the division, honestly. But these games matter. And, I was saying in the last segment, and it still remains true. This game feels like a regular game if it happens April 22nd, right? We're like, oh, it's a nice win. It's a comeback win, but, it's a good win for the Yankees. That's what it feels like. And the magnitude is so much bigger when it's a September game like this. And it just goes to show how important these games are all year long. I've harkened on it all season, and it remains true. And I'll put it in perspective this way. You win that Milwaukee game in June or May or whenever that Milwaukee game was. They're up 3.5 games right now. And do you know how big of a lead 3.5 games sounds? Really big. So it's like, and that sounds crazy. Bring up a game that's that later on, but it just goes to show how important these games are because a lot of these team seasons comes down to 1 or 2 games. Yeah. It comes down to a separation. Like look at the Yankees and the Orioles. They've been neck and neck since May. So, it comes down to a couple games here and there. And unfortunately, when you squander games like that, when you lose games like that, teams get right back into it. You need to do everything imaginable to get these wins because they're so huge at this time of year.
Yeah. The Yankees did well against the Royals and their pitching in that first series in KC. They lost that last game in annoying fashion, and that kind of almost started the downward shift.
It did, yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe this will start an upward shift, and maybe
I think they went. If I'm not mistaken, they went to Boston or after the Royal Series last time, and they lost like 2 out of 3, got swept by Boston.
Yep, they won the first night, and then they lost Saturday and Sunday, and then
it
everything
really
fell
did feel
apart.
like it collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah, that was when Verdugo hit the home run, and then he didn't hit one again for how long? Yeah.
Never.
So, kind of weird actually that they're playing the Royals and the Red Sox again back to back, and interesting scheduling there.
Yeah.
I'm just impressed with the way they came back on Monday night. Just that 7th inning was so much fun to watch,
Yeah.
and I know I keep joking on Twitter that people need to reboot Judge because he hasn't hit a home run in so long, but he's still getting hits and he's still driving people in. He did that on Monday, and so he's not going up there and flailing away. He's not in a really bad slump. It's just he hasn't hit the ball out, and once he does, he'll start hitting them again. He'll go on a little bit of a mini tear.
It's funny. This isn't a slump for a normal player. It's just because Judge is Judge. We're all like, what's going on with him? Nothing's really going on with him. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild. It's just a testament to how good he is.
I joked that I joked that he was like a game cartridge from like Atari or Super Nintendo from the 80s, that
blow
they should
some
take
air on
him out, blow some air on him and stick him back in, because but again, it's really just the home runs that worry me. But other than that, he's fine. He looks fine. His numbers are still impressive, even with the homerless streak. Yeah. So I like the MVP chance, especially because of who they're playing and who's on the other team. And just, it was a good atmosphere too, with the crowd. It felt like
for a
September down the stretch game, and the crowd was really into it. And Jimmy Fallon stayed till the last out. Lorne Michaels stayed till the last out. Good for you in your cushy front row seats. I'm not jealous. Not at all. Nope. I did sit in the legend seats for the opening day of 2009. I sat just past third base. I had been laid off from NBC. I got a really fat severance package, and I was like, I'll spend $625 on a ticket. I don't care.
There you go.
And
was it worth it?
Oh, totally. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's really great seeing how rich people live. I saw it once before when I was a +1 on a business trip. We went to see the Angels in Anaheim. I flew out with my friend for a business trip out to LA.
Mm-hmm.
They literally paid for everything. Like, even for me. Like, I went to buy sunscreen at the hotel, and the account manager's like, no, I got that. I'm like, it's sunscreen. He's like, no, I got it. Okay. We were sitting in the dugout suite next to Scott Boris's dugout suite, which was behind home plate. Mm-hmm. So we were to the left of him. He was there that night. This was 2004 in June. And my friend Julie jokingly thanked him for A-Rod. And he's like, well, and she's like, no, thank you. We're Yankee fans. We're visiting from you. Thank you. Yeah. He laughed. He thought it was funny. But you're sitting right there. Like, you're right there. And the dugout level is so great because it's just, there's nothing in your way except a screen, but you get used to it, and I think it was like the 6th or 7th inning, all of a sudden we heard this booming voice say, the dessert cart is here. And my friend and I looked at each other like, did he say dessert cart? And we ran out to the hallway. There was this 6-foot-long dessert cart with everything you could possibly think of to eat for dessert. Cakes,
it sounds amazing. Cookies,
pies, ice cream. I got a chocolate shot glass and put Bailey's in it, and then took some chocolate chip cookies. I was like, I want to be rich. Or
at a baseball game.
I want to be like a business person so I can be flown out for things like this. At the time I was an assistant at NBC. I had no aspirations of becoming a salesperson. But after that trip, I was kind of like,
not terrible.
Like, maybe I should switch. But I never did. But anyway, I recommend it. If you ever, and I'm telling
rich.
I'm telling the listeners this, if you ever have a chance to sit in rich seats, if you have a friend who has connections, if you work for a company and someone wants to set you up with good seats, take that opportunity, because it's the best way to watch a baseball game. It really is.
Yeah, no, I've heard amazing things. I've never actually sat in Legends. I've sat in some pretty good seats in Yankee Stadium, never in
You can
Legends.
order jerseys in the Legend seats. Like, they had a menu with like things that you could pick a jersey out and send the person back into the store, and they would get it for you if you wanted
Oh
it.
my
I was like,
gosh, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah, it's incredible. Haven't sat there since 2009. I haven't had the money to do
You
that.
got to find like a Wednesday where like there's rain in the forecast and it's like a 1 o'clock game on a
Yeah.
getaway day.
Yeah, maybe. And then
Yeah.
maybe you could sit in the next section, like the 100s, because the
Yeah.
Legend seats, the moat that separates everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good comeback win by the Yankees. Good start to the series after a disappointing loss on Sunday. And, against a team that's doing way better than anyone thought they would,
Oh, yeah.
with playoff aspirations and with strong pitching, and they got to the bullpen. And maybe that's the formula for Tuesday, where if Lugo shuts them down a little bit, but Stroman can keep them in the game, and maybe they get to the bullpen again.
Bleed him out, right? Like get to the bullpen as quick as possible. Get a lot of pitches out of Seth Lugo. He's been really good for them this year. And you know what? I think it's important to see a lot of pitches from Lugo too, because there's a really high possibility you're going to see him at some point again in the future.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember how they did against Lugo in that first series. I'm assuming they faced him because they played 4 games there, and I can't
I
remember.
think they hit him well.
I think so too. I think I'm remembering that they did pretty well against him, and he was doing well going into that game too. Like, he started off the season really strong. But I'm trying to remember what the outcome was, because it was so long ago now. The baseball season is so long that if a game didn't happen within 3 days, I'm not going to remember anything that happened. I mean, heck, we record these podcasts, and 5 minutes later, as I'm trying to do the description and stuff while I'm uploading everything, I'm like, what did we talk about? It just goes
I'm
out
trying
of
to
my
pull
brain.
it up now to see. The Yankees did beat Seth Lugo in their first game. Like, actually, really enough, it was Rodón versus Lugo in that game. Lugo went 7 innings, 8 hits, but 4 earned and 4 Ks.
Interesting. Okay.
So gave him distance, but I think actually that's the performance you want out of Lugo tomorrow.
Yeah.
You
Right.
want 7 innings because you want every Yankee hitter to see as many at-bats as possible against him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So let's hope for that. So thank you for joining us for this live edition of the show. Let's just look at the comments before we go. I did not mean to rhyme, but good job by me on that one. Let's see. What is this? Intermittent fasting is supposed to be the next sports trend: lower weight, higher endurance, greater energy. I tried that. I couldn't take not being able to eat in the morning. Like,
It makes me
like,
want to eat. It makes me want to eat when I'm not supposed to. Like,
yeah.
I need to not follow the rule for some reason.
Yeah. No. I try, and it's like, no. All right, so thank you guys for joining us. We have there's 77 people in here right now. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Brian had to watch the Jets lose, which is why we had to do this so late.
Listen,
hey, look, I'm a Giants fan. It's going to be horrific.
It's going to be a longer year for you.
Horrific, please.
It was tough. It was tough watching the Jets. It really was. It was not. I'll say this though. You saw a lot of good things out of the offense. Yeah, the offense looked good. They looked like a real football team for the first time in a decade.
Yeah. I mean, they open on the road against the 49ers, all the way out west. It's not that easy. So it was just funny because seeing, people on Twitter being all excited, and then within like a quarter, they're like, ugh, and I'm just like,
you know what though? That's the thing that bothered me, right? It's like I made this whole effort, made a nice steak dinner with a friend. We sit down, all confident, watch the game. Like, all right, let's go. Jets season. Aaron Rodgers is healthy for more than 4 plays, so you automatically he's completing passes to Garrett Wilson. They score a touchdown on the drive, and you're so confident, and then it winds up being a Jets game. So on to next week. Yeah. On to Cincinnati.
All right, one more time. You can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. And remember, during that series against Baltimore that we keep bringing up, John Sterling's going to be back in the booth, so that should be fun. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. You can prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day. The link to Locked On MLB is in the description, so you don't need to search. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure you check out the Locked On Yankees postcast right here on the Locked On Yankees podcast feed if you're listening, as well as streaming on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel. Jay Berman is the host. He did his first Yankees postcast. So if you want to watch him after you watch us, go do that. You get rapid reaction to all the biggest moments with the Locked On Yankees postcast. So that'll do it for this live edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll see you guys tomorrow.